Yes, we are joined by Rick Caruso, businessman, owner of the Americana at Brand, former candidate for LA mayor. Mr. Caruso, great to see you.
Good seeing you. Thanks for having me.
You know, we've been talking about this problem for years now of these smash and grabs, and it seems to be getting even more brazen. What is your reaction to seeing all of this?
Well, I think it is getting more brazen. I think actually we're in a crisis. You know, what is predictable is preventable. There has been a lot of talk. The problem is there hasn't been a lot of action to stop this from happening. And we've got to get our elected officials some backbone and courage to make some smart decisions, change some laws that need to be changed, and then enforce laws that need to be enforced to have criminals be accountable. And that's not happening. So there's no consequence, and it continues, and it's getting more violent, which is what I'm really worried about, is somebody getting hurt or die in the process of one of these smash and grabs with this mob scene. And these are organized, this is organized crime. This isn't a one-off, somebody decided to do it. This is very well organized and should be treated as such.
Well, to that point, we heard Gascon say today to our Hal Eisner that he views them as organized crime, and that he says this: we will use every tool available under the law when there is an arrest made. In terms of penalty, he says depends on the history of the individuals, but we are looking at every tool, including conspiracy. Your reaction to that?
Well, listen, I'm glad he's saying that. I hope he acts on it. I hope he starts getting tougher on crime. The policies that we've had are bad. They're not working. It's led to this. So, yeah, it's about time to pivot and change. But the proof is going to be in the pudding when it actually happens. So, again, a lot of people have been calling for change for a long time, and it hasn't happened. So let's make it happen now, because the consequence, forget about my property or Westfield, Topanga, as bad as that was. You've got small business owners around the city that are being impacted. Smash and grab. Somebody comes in and steals a couple $1,000s worth of merchandise. That could be their profit for the month. That could be their rent. And the problem with these small business owners, they don't have a voice. They don't have the ability, like I do, to go put up a reward, which I did for what happened out at the Americana. So we all have to come together as a community, demand that things get changed, and then we've got to make sure our elected officials are actually doing that and hearing us. And
in terms of the Americana, where we saw something similar recently, still no arrest. You have put forward that reward, but no arrest yet, right?
No arrest yet. Glendale PD is doing a great job. I am very confident we will have arrests. We've got very sophisticated security systems on all of our properties in terms of our cameras and other ways of identifying people. And so I'm feeling very confident that we're going to have arrests.
You know, there's a lot of people that are watching this that are going to think, how could life be different if you were mayor instead? So if you were mayor right now, what specifically would be different in terms of the response? What specific policy change would happen or priority change would happen if you were running things?
Well, I think all of us in the business community and just in communities in general, leaders around the city and the county of Los Angeles, we have to demand that their bail is brought back. You cannot fight crime and have a no bail policy. That's just wrong. You've got to change Prop 47, where even if you're stealing under $950, it's a crime and it's punishable as a crime. And then you've got to start enforcing the laws that we've got and allow the police in all the right ways to make sure that our communities are safe, our streets are safe. And then you've got to lean into youth programs like Tina and I have for the last 30 years, encourage more people to do it. Make sure the youth is getting the right education, the right mentorship, and making sure they're not falling into the bad ways that are leading to crime. And you've got to look at it holistically, not in a linear fashion. You got to do multiple things at one time. And it can be done. This is a great city. We used to operate in a much safer way. And let's go back to those ways and make sure that we've got a livable community. So I'm very optimistic if our elected officials actually have the courage to do what's right, that things will change.
Well, Mr. Caruso, while we have you, we want to ask you about some sad news in the world of music and more broadly in entertainment. In so many fields he impacted, talking about the loss of executive Clarence Avant, known as the Black Godfather of music. He passed away yesterday in Los Angeles at 92 years old. he had an impact in politics, sports, you name it. This, of course, his death comes less than 2 years after the murder of his wife. You see her there, Jacqueline Avant, who was killed during a home break-in. Yeah. You were very close to this couple. What did Mr. Avant mean to you?
I loved him. I mean, this is a man obviously had the worst experience you can of any kind of tragedy and this crime that's happening in our region. But he was a legendary guy. He reinvented the music industry. He was an incredible dad and husband and a dear friend. He just had a dearness to him. And I got to tell you, every time I met with him, he just brought joy and laughter and happiness. And, of course, I was always thrilled that he was a supporter of mine. But it's a huge loss. And I think we need more Clarence Avants in the world, and we would have a much better place, that's for sure. So my heart goes out to Nicole and Alex and Ted, because I know it's a huge loss. They were all so close.
Well, we are also sending our love to the Avant family tonight. Rick Caruso, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views. It was good to see you.
Thank you both.